Imagine this: you stand at the edge of a cobbled square as dusk pools like ink. Smoke from green wood stings your throat. Bells bite the air. A hawker in scarlet rattles a wooden coffer. By grace, by time, by your mother's soul back from the fire. Coins clink like absolutions. Across the crowd, a pig in a linen jacket and tiny white gloves is led to the gallows, a clerk marching ahead with a parchment charge. On a trestle table, a bowl of leeches flexes. Beside it, an iron bar glows a cruel sunrise. The constable nods. The priest murmurs. The scribe dips his quill. Here remedies are measured in blood and verdicts are burned into skin. You think you know the Middle Ages dirty peasants and witch fires. The truth is stranger and uncomfortably logical. Markets sold salvation. Courts tried animals. Crowds ate bread while men were unmade. Doctors drained patients until the balance returned or the pulse didn't. If innocence was unclear, someone carried hot iron or sank in cold water to see whether God intervened. What they called medicine would be malpractice. What they called justice would be a crime scene. To them, it was Tuesday. Welcome to the archives. History written by victors, truth in margins. Tonight, we open 10 case files from a cursed chamber where faith, fear, and good intentions twist into instruments. The story will only get stranger, only get darker. You won't believe what passed for normal, and yet you will because the logic is alarmingly familiar. Before we descend, tell me, where are you watching from city, country, late-night thoughts? We are connected across time by shared curiosity. Not all is buried as deep as the powerful want. Keep your hands inside the light and your doubts close. By the end, you may wonder which comforts we defend today will look criminal to tomorrow's children. The descent begins now. On paper, everything looks civilized. You've got the church keeping souls tidy, universities polishing Latin verbs and egos in medicine with a confident four-flavor menu: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, black bile. Collect them all. Laws promise order. Bells promise comfort. If life feels precarious, there's a fix, a prayer, a lecture, a lancet. It's the Middle Ages as brochure, incense syllogisms, and a light drizzle of certainty. Lean closer and the solutions start. Solving the wrong problems. Need peace of mind. There's an afterlife loyalty program, Indulgences, because who doesn't love a spiritual coupon code? Crops failing. Summon the court. The defendants are inconveniently beetles. Public morality drives schedule a very public don't do this demonstration that will keep YouTube friendly and call an intense community workshop. Everyone turns up with bread opinions and front row enthusiasm. The absurdity isn't random, it's organized. That's the scary part. Now we talk costs, gently. Babies swaddled so tightly they resemble linen burritos. Some are offered sleep aids that include ingredients best left to history. Parents meant well. Outcomes, often not. In the ward, doctors practice firm hospitality. Let's lighten your blood load until the balance returns. Or you don't. It's healthcare as a factory reset, except the device is you. And when truth is blurry, the courtroom outsources to heaven, a hot iron handshake, or a brief swim to see if Providence replies. We'll spare details. Let's just say the customer feedback was mixed. None of this is mustache-twirling villainy. It's people following the map they were handed, and that map had dragons printed where data should be. Here's the part that knocks a hole in the wall, change 3 rules, and the whole edifice wobbles. Human dignity. No remedies that treat bodies like spare parts. Evidence. Claims must outlive questions. Consent, faith, and medicine without coercion. With those anchors, the indulgence booth looks like sales, not salvation. The animal dock looks like theater, not justice. The community workshop looks like harm, not civics. You glimpse how quickly normal can become unacceptable once the light moves a few degrees. From polished surface to managed absurdity, to quiet ruin, to the moment the room tilts and you can't unsee it. We'll keep it respectful, keep it human, and keep the rough edges sanded for this platform. But we won't look away. Up next, 10 case files from the chamber itself. It only gets stranger. And yes, you probably won't believe what used to pass for normal. Picture a marketplace that stocks eternity, next to onions. Penance flap a friar clears his throat, and theology gets a sales desk. The pitch is disarmingly simple. Sins leave a bill. The church keeper of a cosmic savings account can transfer credit. You just make a donation large enough to be spiritually meaningful and economically memorable. It's faith with itemization. We're not knocking belief, we're examining the moment belief met bookkeeping, and both said we could really work together. Prices slide by class and conscience. Guilds buy in bulk, wholesale holiness. While a widow parts with coin she cannot spare because the thought of a child in spiritual layover hurts more than hunger. The real innovation isn't theology. It's logistics, itinerant preachers' pre-printed forms, a jingle so catchy it could sell soap. People aren't stupid, they're scared, hopeful, and mortal. The Indulgence booth offers what every late-night infomercial promises: peace of mind, only with better costumes. Satire aside, the ethics are heavy. A rich sinner can binge and donate. A poor saint must settle for worry and good behavior. That math isn't sacred, it's skewed. And yet the booth thrives because it speaks fluent human. We bargain with the infinite, the way we bargain for shoes. Can I get half off if I'm really sorry? In a world of plague fire and bad harvests, heaven on layaway feels rational. It is also the moment charity blurs into commerce and penance becomes a product. A clerk stamps wax and whispers, "For your mother." He believes it. So does the buyer. The machine hums on sincerity. Modern eyes see consumer protection problems everywhere: undisclosed terms, predatory fear, appeals, limited refunds. The downstream effect is revolution: printing presses flinging pamphlets like popcorn, and a suspicious new habit of asking for receipts whenever someone mentions grace. Lesson logged: when metaphysics rents a storefront, check the fine print. And if selling salvation sounds wild, wait until the night the monks start stealing bones. You won't believe what comes next. The story behind it is even stranger. Midnight rain like beads on stained glass, and a hooded figure slips through a cloister with a key that is technically not his. Inside a stone reliquary sleeps the marketing department of the Middle Ages: fragments, fabrics, and the kind of name recognition that moves pilgrims by the mile. Imagine a world where tourism, medicine, and miracle all share the same address. Then imagine a rival monastery across the valley with emptier guest books and bread ovens cooling too soon. The solution writes itself in candlelight. Relic translation. The polite term has a playbook. Step 1, vow the saint desired a more appreciative audience. Step 2, hire sturdy brothers with quiet shoes. Step 3, relocate sacred inventory before dawn, leaving behind a note framed as a vision. Come morning, the bells ring, jubilate. The local economy reboots. Pilgrims arrive with offerings, merchants with warm pies, and the sick with stories that sometimes end better than expected. Placebo is Latin for "I shall please," and in a century with few antibiotics, hope is a potent adjunct therapy. We don't gawk, we analyze. Relics bind communities, distribute alms, and fund hospitals and bridges. They also spark competitive spirituality that looks suspiciously like brand warfare. Did every bone belong to who the label claimed? Not always. Did the devotion harm? Sometimes not. Faith organizes chaos and charity rides in its wake, but theft is theft, even in the key of incense. Consent matters for bodies, especially those that cannot speak, and the silence of the grave is not the same as approval. The humor is gallows-light monks in a chase scene, but everyone jogs respectfully. The gravity is real, those are human remains. The paradox is enduring: a stolen saint pays for honest roofs. A prior unwraps a cloth and murmurs, "Welcome home." An accountant off-screen updates a ledger. If the holy heist feels like a medieval special effect, hold that thought for the courthouse where the defendant is. Not human. You won't believe what comes next. The story behind it is even stranger. Court is in session. The bailiff calls the case. The accused squeals. This is not a joke. It's jurisprudence in a world that believes moral agency comes graded on a curve that includes barnyards. Domestic animals live among us, benefit from our care, and the argument runs should therefore know better. Wild beasts are tragic inevitabilities. A pig in a pantry is a neighbor with terrible manners. And so, summons his counsel and occasionally a very small outfit for symbolism and YouTube-friendly modesty. Absurd, sure. Random, not at all. Communities facing grief, ruined fields, and injured child need ritual pathways to closure. An animal trial performs several jobs at once. It converts rage into procedure. It says, we did something lawful. It publishes a warning to owners. It lets the village exit the loop of rumor with a verdict, however peculiar. Defense attorneys make earnest speeches that you can't help admiring for their rhetorical cardio. My clients are juveniles. Providence provides grain for all. The cats started it. Somewhere a clerk nods and writes it down. From a modern perch, we see category errors and a lack of welfare laws. But we also see the honest attempt to rout heartbreak through a system instead of a mob. That choice matters. Were outcomes kind? Not reliably. So we'll spare specifics and say sentences tended toward symbolic but firm. The satire writes itself. Votre honneur. The mice request a change of venue to the cellar. But the lesson is sober law will stretch into strange shapes to keep communities from snapping. And tucked beneath the comedy is a draft of something better: responsibility for human handlers, compensation for loss, calmer streets. Progress often begins as parody of the future. The advocate clears his throat. On the matter of culpability, we submit cheese is complicating. The gallery laughs a little, then listens. If trying a pig sounds like peak medieval, wait until punishment becomes a public picnic with souvenir stands. We keep this one careful and coded because platforms prefer euphemism, and so do we. Picture a town square refitted as a stage. Vendors ring the perimeter selling warm bread and moral clarity. Parents claim the good seats because education, children because curiosity, and pickpockets because opportunity. The theory is textbook: visible consequences deter crime and communal witnessing reinforces norms. The practice is a day out, which is the part we have to sit with. Executions, kept abstract here, become set pieces with scripts. The condemned delivers a final speech, the crowd grades it, and somewhere a city official tallies civic virtue points. There's a celebrity economy too. An efficient executioner is praised for professionalism. A clumsy one is booed like a missed free throw. The moral math is upside down, public cruelty wearing the mask of public pedagogy. But it made a certain sense in a world that believed fear could substitute for fairness and speed for due process. From the vantage of now, we see perverse incentives. Spectacle needs scale. Scale needs supply. Supply pressures the pipeline of guilt. That's not justice, that's content. And yet, inside the noise are moments of human interruption. A prayer, a pardon, a crowd that unexpectedly pleads for mercy. Or communities are complicated, so is punishment. What looks like medieval appetite for suffering often hides medieval hunger for meaning. We can critique the apparatus while noticing the ache that built it. Humor helps us hold the discomfort at arm's length. Call it a very serious outdoor workshop with concessions and live music. Admit we would have bought the snack, then pivot to what matters. Policy that uses humiliation as glue eventually cracks the vessel it's meant to hold together. A vendor wraps bread and whispers, "May it end quickly." An old woman nods, eyes closed. If the carnival of consequence is unsettling, wait for the courtroom lab test where a silent witness is expected to speak on cue. You won't believe what comes next. The story behind it is even stranger. Welcome to a forensic method best filed under faith-based diagnostics. The premise is that a victim's body confronted with the guilty will provide a sign. Subtle, solemn, and we will keep the description gentle. In practice, officials assemble suspects, prayers are said, and everyone watches for a response that biology does not endorse, but culture does. Think of it as an evidentiary seance dressed in legal robes, reverent, procedural, and convinced that truth prefers pageantry. Why did people believe this worked? Because sometimes coincidences arrive on schedule. Grief wants order, suspicion wants confirmation, and a ritual that promises both is irresistible. Also in communities with thin forensic tools, adding a metaphysical test feels like diligence. To be fair to the past, Cruentation rarely stood alone. It decorated a case built of rumor hints and the occasional confession coaxed by methods we'll leave in the archives. Still, the danger is obvious. When evidence chases, narrative usually wins. The tone here is light only to make room for the heavy. We can smile at the image of a medieval detective special, candles choir a very solemn clipboard, while saying clearly the dead deserve dignity and the living deserve proof. Ritual can comfort, but truth needs repeatable experiments, not atmospheric ones. If you've ever argued with a conspiracy theorist on the internet, you know the feeling. The vibes are undefeated, the facts are late to the party. And yet, even this misstep reveals a hunger we recognize, the longing for the silence to testify. Today we build labs and guard chains of custody to honor that wish. Yesterday they built altars and listened for a sign. Same ache, different tools. Progress is not a straight line, but it is a line. A scribe writes in the margin, "Let God be our witness." A future juror centuries away will write, "Please show your sources." If you think asking the dead for testimony is strange, wait until the living are asked to hold hot iron or swim for innocence. You won't believe what comes next. The story behind it is even stranger. Open the door softly. The past is napping. The nursery smells of wool yeast and fierce love. A midwife counts tiny fingers with battlefield seriousness. Parents whisper prayers like passwords. No one here is cruel. They are careful, sometimes too careful. The baby is swaddled into a perfect linen cylinder, a high-performance burrito designed to keep limbs straight and destinies straighter. Motion minimal. Wiggle room concept pending. The theory says tight cloth makes strong bones. The baby files a dissent, but lacks the vocabulary. Feeding follows the manuals of the day. The wealthy hire a wet nurse after a vetting process, equal parts health check and character audit. Milk, they believe, carries temperament, virtue in liquid form. So a nurse's habits, even her hair color in some places, get evaluated like lab results. For families without nurses, there's the DIY menu bread softened with liquids that modern pediatricians would file under not ideal for small humans. Herbal teas with reputations larger than their safety profiles. Honey that is sweet, yes, but historically complicated for infants. Hydration is enthusiasm. Microbiology hasn't sent its memo yet. Hygiene is thoughtful, if not always effective. Water is sometimes suspect. People worry it opens the pores. So there's lots of linen laundering, very clean shirts, and gentle rub-downs with aromatic cloths. Cribs host charms, coral beads, and miniature talismans because protection loves a prop. When illness arrives, parents act pilgrimages for blessings, relics for comfort and remedies, culled from books that mix observation with poetry. Some practices help. Some are neutral. Some are, in polite modern terms, suboptimal. Here's the analysis that matters. Love isn't enough without good information. Mortality rates are high not because parents don't care, but because their map of the body is more mythology than anatomy. And yet, inside this imperfect system, you see the future in outline. Quarantines, midwife networks, municipal hospitals, proto-science growing like a stubborn seed. Dramatization. A mother touches the swaddled cheek and whispers, "Grow?" A bell rings somewhere and the city tries to agree. If baby care by best intentions feels strange, wait until the hospital prescribes balance by subtraction. Bring a sturdy bowl. Please take a seat. The chair is sturdy and the bowl is metaphorical. Medicine meet math. If illness is excess, reduce the sum. The 4 humor model, blood phlegm, yellow bile, black bile, is elegant, symmetrical, and confidently wrong in most of the ways that matter. Physicians with university Latin and barbers with excellent towels agree on the headline, "The body needs unblocking." Enter lancets, leeches, and heated cups, the spa menu no one asked for. The pitch is almost persuasive. Fever. Lower the pressure, out with the heat. Headache. Clear the traffic. Let the bad humors exit the building. The patient's world swirls, literally, and sometimes briefly, they feel better. That temporary lift becomes the theory's favorite advertisement, a placebo. A pressure drop, a natural turning point, misattributed. Humans are pattern hunters. The body is a noisy data set. Meanwhile, the delicate math of circulation hasn't been discovered yet, and the clinic's version of refresh is, well, a hard reset. To be fair, not every treatment is reckless. Some practitioners are cautious, some procedures modest and leeches. Tiny medical contractors occasionally have legitimate uses, even today. But the system rewards confidence in ceremony copper bowls, precise incisions, an atmosphere of mastery. When illness is terrifying and options are few, authority is a kind of anesthetic. The line between care and harm blurs under velvet rhetoric. So we practice our spoken word triage humor to make space gravity to make sense. This isn't a parody of barbarians. It's a portrait of sincere professionals operating with a beautiful doomed model. Their textbooks sing symmetry, their patients need science. And yet in the margins, methods begin to shift bedside observation statistics in embryo, the brave notion that what helps should outperform what doesn't in measurable ways. Dramatization. A physician ties a ribbon around the wrist and murmurs, "Just enough." The student copies the phrase then, centuries later, crosses it out. If medicine's math by subtraction surprises you, wait for the courtroom exam where truth must pass through fire or float. When cures falter, the law turns to fire and water for answers. Court, but make it metaphysical. When evidence is scarce and rumor is abundant. Medieval law sometimes invites the divine to the bench. Procedures vary by region, but the ethos is consistent. Let God decide, neatly packaged into tests the body would prefer to avoid. We'll keep our language gentle, our camera at a respectful distance. The hot iron proof asks an accused person to carry a heated bar for a measured number of steps. Hands are bandaged, time passes, and appointed officials later examine the healing for signs of favor. The boiling water version requests retrieval of a small object from an unwelcoming pot, depth correlating with the seriousness of the charge. The cold water ordeal flips the script, bound and lowered into a river or pond. The accused must sink. Pure water receives the innocent, or float rejected as guilty, which is a tad unfair to the naturally buoyant and the waterlogged alike. Prayers frame the tests. Solemnity is the operating system. From today's vantage, the problems glare: confirmation bias, investments, physiology misread as theology, and a perverse incentive structure where fear encourages confession, regardless of truth. Yet in their own moment, ordeals appear rational. A community desperate to avoid civil war by accusation needs a tiebreaker everyone recognizes. The ritual supplies spectacle closure and the illusion of neutral judgment. It is less about truth than about consensus, an engineered endpoint in a society allergic to uncertainty. The moral we carry forward is precision. Justice is not the absence of doubt, but the careful management of it. Evidence must be independent of the hopes pinning it down. The line between mercy and theater is easiest to cross when a crowd wants the curtain to fall. Dramatization. A priest whispers, "May the innocent be shown." A woman watches her hands and wishes the same. If asking heaven to run the lab test seems extraordinary, wait until law straps itself into armor and tries to find truth with a blade. Tiebreaker, unresolved. Dress it in armor and call it procedure. Welcome to the duel you can file, a fight not as vendetta, but as procedure. The logic is crisp. If God favors the righteous, then the righteous will, in the sanctioned arena, prevail. Oaths are sworn, weapons standardized, a date booked as if for a very tense picnic. The audience arrives, because of course they do. Justice is about to be decided at performance speed. Combatants may be the disputants themselves or designated champions, professionals whose resumes read like tournament brackets. The rulebook, surprisingly thick, tries to tame chaos with choreography. What counts as a win when a submission stands in for a verdict? Which gear is allowed? None of it solves the core equation: a strong liar can defeat a weak truth-teller. Wealth buys better blades and better bodies. In a society that believes providence whispers through outcomes, skill and privilege get misfiled as righteousness. The satellite stories are complicated. Some duels end quickly, some draw out. Honor codes attempt to inject civility into a format designed for finality. There are famous cases in which a woman's fate is stapled to a man's stamina, her truth outsourced to his reach, and the crowd's roars rebrand as divine applause. We keep it tactful here, but the stakes are literal lives and reputations. The courtroom outsourced to choreography doesn't always read the right script. Laugh if you must an appeals process that's basically best of one. Then sit with the tragedy, a legal system trained to admire conviction over corroboration. The gift here is diagnostic. Once you notice the substitution, violence for evidence, you start to see its echoes anywhere politics rewards spectacle. The modern upgrade isn't superior character, it's better methods. Juries, paper trails, cross-exams, prosaic, unglamorous, humane. Dramatization. A marshal raises a glove and calls for silence. Somewhere someone prays that truth can sprint. If justice in chainmail strains belief, wait until a courtroom drags yesterday into the dock. When winners rewrite the rules, even yesterday gets dragged to court. And now, the strangest door in the archive. Year 897 Rome. Power changes hands too often to keep the ink dry. A new regime needs to prove the old one illegitimate. Solution: hold a trial. Defendant: a predecessor, specifically his remains. The setting is a church-turned courtroom. The decor is somber. The choice is breathtaking. Officials retrieve the body seated in clerical vestments and proceed with formal charges. A deacon answers for the silent, which is not exactly a fair fight. We steer clear of lurid detail. The point isn't shock, it's structure. This is law performing theater to resolve a political panic. The verdict unsurprisingly goes the way the wind is currently blowing. Sentences are symbolic but pointed. Titles revoked, acts annulled, reputation disassembled. The spectacle says to Rome, the past is guilty. The present is clean. Within months, the wheel turns again. The verdict is condemned. Penance is performed for penance performed. Stability does not attend. Why stage this? Because institutions crave ritual even when reason deserts them. A corpse cannot rebut, but it can be used, as prop as caution, as glue. The Cadaver Synod is a case study in what happens when legitimacy depends on pageantry more than principle. It is also a mirror for any age tempted to litigate history by stunt, rewriting yesterday not by evidence, but by ceremony in costume. Humor helps us look, without flinching, courtroom minutes with the world's quietest defendant. Clerks noting answers the witness did not give. Then the serious turn respect for the dead is a proxy for respect for the living. Today's opponents, tomorrow's ancestors. When politics buries its humility, someone eventually will dig up the past to make a point. It never ends well. A scribe dips his quill and pauses, unsure how to phrase the silence. Outside, Rome conducts its weather, storms in brief intervals. Step out of the chamber and listen. What follows isn't past at all. It's the echo coming home. Step out of the chamber and listen. The noise fades, the hawkers, the bells, the courtroom choreography, and what remains is the hum of a pattern. Not medieval so much as human. When fear is high and evidence is low, we buy certainty from whoever sells it prettiest. When grief needs a culprit, we put something, someone, on a stage. When a model is elegant, we defend it long after it stops helping. Yesterday called that faith law or medicine. Today calls it policy, platform, wellness, best practice. The labels change, the habits persist. Look again at our 10 files. Indulgences. Swap parchment for paywalls. Promises of peace traded for a fee didn't vanish. They rebranded as subscriptions to safety status or serenity. Furta sacra. We still relocate the sacred, we just call it content acquisition or borrowing tradition. Animal trials. We don't robe pigs, but we do prosecute problems by punishing proxies. Frontline workers for systemic failures, single offenders for collective appetites. Public death as carnival. The square has gone digital. The food's better at home. The spectacle is endlessly replayable. Cruentation. We don't ask the dead to speak, we ask the vibe, a chart, a dashboard, an aura of certainty. To testify, the kit is newer, the impulse is familiar. Childcare by best intentions. We still mistake vibe for data, now with packaging. Sleep hacks, miracle tonics, and ancient secrets with modern fonts. Bloodletting. Replace the lancet with detox fads that promise balance by subtraction. Carbs, toxins, friends, it varies. Ordeals. We outsource the tiebreaker to algorithms we ritualize as neutral, then treat their output like divine verdicts, a trial by combat. Our swords are softer, debate stages, comment wars, financial muscle, but the faith in victory as truth survives. And the Cadaver Synod. We convene our own when we haul yesterday into the dock, staging grand corrections that sometimes fix the past and sometimes just decorate the present. Ceremony is not the same as repair. This is not cynicism. It's a caution with a pulse. The point of walking through the cursed chamber isn't to smirk at ancestors, it's to borrow their mirror. They did not wake up intending harm. Most mornings began with prayer bread and a plan to do right. Harm came bundled with the plan. That's the warning worth taking home. So what do we do differently? Start where the wall cracked earlier. Dignity, evidence, consent. Dignity means our bodies and others aren't props for policy or ratings. If a proposal treats people like scenery and someone else's morality play, uninstall it. Evidence means claims must survive questions that don't love them. Ask for baselines, counterfactuals, error bars. Then actually read them. If a cure, a campaign, or a crusade can't pass a boring audit, it doesn't deserve an exciting rollout. Consent means no theology or technology gets to lean on your throat. Yes to persuasion, no to coercion in the key of inevitability. Practical, not preachy, before you buy the modern indulgence, be it a product, a pass, or a pardon. Read the fine print and the studies plural. Before you join a digital carnival, ask what the crowd gets if the story is wrong. Before you trust the vibe as proof, find a source that isn't invested in the answer. Before you demand combat, check that the arena is evidence and not entertainment. Before you put yesterday on trial, decide whether you're repairing or performing. One question I keep taped to the archive door: is this policy a measurement, or is it a mood moods can guide? They cannot convict. There's room for humor here because humor makes air for the heavy. The Middle Ages gave us theater to swallow the medicine. We're borrowing the trick in reverse, jokes as ventilators for hard truths. But when the room goes quiet, let it. Some lessons shouldn't be overscored. A child's linen wrap, a clerk's solemn stamp, a river you're supposed to trust, a chair by a copper bowl. These belong to the past, and also, uncomfortably, to us if we're careless. Welcome again to the archives. History written by victors, truth in margins. Our work is to read the margins before they're redacted and to write new ones with fewer people sacrificed to certainty. We are connected across time by shared curiosity. We are divided by how quickly we turn curiosity into doctrine. So tell me, tell each other in the comments at the table. In the places algorithms can't grade you, which case struck you hardest? Which modern ritual smells a little like an indulgence booth? A friendly leech and ordeal in disguise? What would you refuse to watch as carnival? What would you demand be proven, not performed? Not all is buried as deep as the powerful want. Some things we've just stopped naming. The past has many more secrets, but so does the present. It's better at hiding them behind glossy fonts. Keep your doubts, close your compassion closer, and your receipts where everyone can see them. The chamber doors stay here. The echo travels with you.